You're listening to Hawk Talk with former Seahawks wide receiver Michael Bumpus.
Play fake, going to roll right, dumps it off into the right flat to Michael Bumpus, who bounces off of one tackler, gets inside the 40, down to the 35-yard line.
Powered by Seahawks.com.
Matt pump fakes, looking to the goal line. He throws it into the end zone. Touchdown Seahawks! It's Michael Bumpus with a diving catch in the end zone. A 10-yard touchdown reception for Bumpus, and the kid out of Washington State has found himself a place on this team.
Now, here's your host, Nasser Kyobe.
Welcome into another edition of Hawk Talk, getting you ready for the Seahawks Week 8 matchup, taking on these Buffalo Bills at Lumen Field this Sunday. Bump, before we get into all of it, trade alert, breaking news.
Boom, 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 let's get it.
No, this is huge. Seahawks agree to trade Jerome Baker to Tennessee for draft compensation, bringing in exchange for Ernest Jones IV. 2021 third-round pick. Jones spent his first 3 seasons with the Rams, so Seahawks fans should be pretty familiar with him out there. Was traded to Tennessee prior to the start of this season. Jones took over the starting job midway through his rookie year, started 7 games, then started 11 games in 2022, and then 15 games last season during the 2023 season. His first as an every-down linebacker, Jones recorded a Rams franchise record 145 tackles, 4.5 sacks, 6 passes defended, 14 tackles for loss, and 6 quarterback hits. Bump. Sad to see Baker go, but I am incredibly excited about Ernest Jones. What have you seen from him on film?
Yeah, I'm hyped, man. I was watching the film on Ernest, and the first thing I noticed was just the violence. He attacks these guards trying to climb up to his second level. So it made me go and look at Baker's height and weight. And I'm like, man, he seems so much bigger than Baker.
Right.
They're almost the exact same size. It's a different type of approach when it comes to Ernest, man. Long arms. Plays with some balance to him. He's good at diagnosing the plays, too. There were a lot of times with this defense where I felt like guys were waiting to be 100% sure they knew what they were looking at before they wouldn't make the play. You look at Ernest, he's sniffing it out. Oh, guard's pulling there. Bam, I see the mesh. Bam, I'm shooting my gap right now. So he seems like just a savvy football player, a violent football player. You lose a little bit in coverage, but not too much. I think he can still drop back and cover. And, this is what this defense needed. You needed some violence on that second level. With that D-line getting healthy, you throwing a little Ernest Jones in that thing, it looks pretty good so far.
No, I feel good about it, too, and what I really feel good about is he played in a similar system. I'm not going to say it's the exact same. I'm not in the meeting rooms there. Mm-hmm. But their defensive coordinator was a DB coach with McDonald in Baltimore, so at least it's not being dropped into something completely different and all that stuff. So I'm excited to see him on Sundays.
You know who he played last week? The Buffalo Bills. He going back to back on them.
Come on now.
Let's go.
Hey, that's got to be dope. You're like, okay, I know who they are. I know what their checks are. And he's got some insight because he can be like, no, this is what they actually did on the field. So, no, it should be fun. I'm really excited to watch number 13, Ernest Jones, the 4th this week as the Seahawks get ready to take on the Buffalo Bills. What's on tap?
What's on tap?
These Bills are 5-2, first place in the AFC East with wins over the Cardinals, Dolphins, Jaguars, Jets, and Titans, losses to the Baltimore Ravens and the Houston Texans. Now, Bump, this Buffalo team, similar to other teams we've talked about, they're off to a great start. They're in first place. They've won this division 4 years in a row heading into 2024.
That's crazy.
So much success, but with great success comes all the expectations, right? They've lost in the division round of the playoffs the last 3 seasons after reaching the AFC title game in 2020. They've also had their season end at the hands of Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City Chiefs 3 of the last 4 postseasons.
Everybody in the AFC then lost to Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So that there's no shame in that, but like it sucks if you're a diehard Bills fan or whatever. The regular season matters, but it also doesn't because you're like, okay, well, what are we going to do in January? Which is a rough way to live and a good way to live because you have expectations. So that's good. Anyway, so they're a good team, but, you know, they make a huge trade. They're bringing Amari Cooper. Stephon Diggs isn't with them anymore. So, and he made his first debut this weekend. Amari Cooper did against Tennessee, Bump.
Yeah, Amari Cooper scored a touchdown. I believe he only had 18 plays or something like that. So they're bringing them in slowly. But that's what you do with ballers. Though. You put them in the red zone. You put them in the slot. He's looking at Keon Coleman saying, "Make sure I'm doing the right thing." He runs a little post, and you get it to him. So no, it's a good replacement. It's as good as it could get at this time of the year because no other baller receiver was being moved. You went to one of the worst teams with a worst situation. You got their best receiver, and Amari Cooper has shown that he still got some ball left in him.
Yeah, no question about it. So he'll definitely be a bigger part of the offense this week. We'll talk about it a little bit later in matchups. But last week against those Titans, the Bills overcame a slow start and beat the Titans convincingly 34-10 at home. The Titans were down their starting quarterback, Will Levis, turned to former Steelers quarterback Mason Rudolph. He had the Titans out to a 10-0 lead, but then after a little bit, it was all Bills, man. 34 unanswered points and scored on every single drive of the second half.
Man, Bills were looking good. Josh Allen celebrated his 100th career start. Dang, already?
I know.
Damn. His 26 300-yard outing while finishing 21 of 33 for 323 yards and 2 touchdowns. He improved to 68 and 32 as a starter, matching 4 players, Joe Montana, Terry Bradshaw, Brett Favre, and Aaron Rodgers for 6 most wins in a quarterback's first 100 starts. And he's taking care of the Rock. We'll get into that later. But Josh Allen playing some good football.
That's a good list to be on
Yeah.
with those dudes anytime you're on it. We mentioned Cooper, 4 catches, 66 yards, 1 touchdown, and 18 offensive snaps. Keon Coleman also had a big day, 4 receptions, 125 yards. Titans continued their free fall dropping. Sorry, I almost laughed right there.
Disrespectful.
No, I didn't mean to be disrespectful, but I'm just looking at the numbers. Dropping to 1-5, their worst start of the season since 2015 at 1-6. They have failed to top 17 points for the 5th time this season. Holy smokes. It felt different when I was in Tennessee. I'm like, those guys got some thumpers, they had some playmakers. Hasn't gone that well for them. Anyway, Bump, looking at his head-to-head, what stands out between the Seahawks and the Bills?
Man, the numbers are lying to me right now because you look at the numbers for the Bills, and as the kids would say, they look very mid. Okay, the numbers are mid. Offensively, they're 18th, running the rock 19th, passing the ball 18th. Points per game is where they stand out a bit. They're 5th, averaging 28 points per game. So that just tells me they're efficient in the red zone. They get in the red zone and they're scoring. Total defense, they're 20th. Against the run, they're 20th. Against the pass, they're 17th. Points allowed, boom. This is where it pops a little bit. All right, they're 8th, allowing 19 points per game. So it's like the big picture, it looks a little cloudy. But when you narrow in on how much they're scoring and how much they're not letting their opponents score, that's where it pops a little bit. So for the Seahawks, they're 8th overall, 27th running the rock, the best passing game in the league.
Get 'em.
And they're 8th when it comes to scoring points. Defensively, they're 21st overall, 28th against the run, 13th against the pass, and 19th when it comes to allowing points, 23.4.
Bump. I looked at this and I was trying to find a stat. I was like, how are they 5-2?
Right.
Why does it seem like they're way better than they are? I'm looking at the numbers. It doesn't make sense. Here's the one. Here's what does it.
I already know where it is.
Turnover differential. Bills are +10, number 1 in the National Football League. The Seahawks are -3, tied for 21st. And that's what it is. They take care of the ball. They're good in the red zone, and it shows because if you had all those numbers, these are numbers of a team that's 3-3. Or, you know what I mean, 4-3, 3-4, something like that. So it's about turnovers, it seems like, with this team. So the Seahawks definitely going to want to change that a little bit. They're coming off a big game, a lot of takeaways. So hopefully that trend will continue moving forward. But these teams, they don't play as often. They're more about every 4 years out there in the AFC East. Let's know the history.
Know your history.
Seahawks lead the all-time series 8-6, including 2-2 in their last 4 matchups. The Seahawks last played the Bills in that 2020 COVID season, losing to the Bills 44-34. That game really wasn't that close, and it was really kind of the end of all the let Russ cook stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
Because after that game, I feel like Pete kind of reeled everything in. They went on to go 6-2 and win the division and all that stuff, but like letting Russell throw it 60 times a game and all that stuff kind of calmed down after this game. Bills jumped out to a 14-0 lead at the end of the first quarter. They're up 10 at the halftime. Seahawks would make it a one-score game at 27-20 in the fourth quarter, but the Bills would score 14 straight points, put that game out of reach. Josh Allen had a big day, 31-38, 415 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Stephon Diggs led all receivers, 9 receptions, 118, 1 touchdown. For the Hawks, Russell had a good day, 28 of 41, stat-wise, 390 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he also had 2 picks and 2 fumbles lost. So he turned the ball over 4 times. And that was that. Seahawks went up to Buffalo. They took that L. But like I said, they would go 6-2 the rest of the way, win an NFC West title. Won't talk about what happened after that. And, yeah, but the only thing, real quick, Bump, I'll say before we get to what's the word, Jaron Reed is the only person still on the Seahawks defense from that day.
And he made his way back.
And he left and came back. When you think about the names on that defense, Quentin Dunbar, DJ Reed, Trey Flowers, Carlos Dunlap, Jamal Adams, Quandre, LJ Collier, Poona Ford, KJ Wright, Jordan Brooks, Wags. It feels like it's a long time ago, but also recent. Because I'm like, I mean, some of these guys, but dang, man. Different time.
Jamal, Quandre, DJ Reed. Big ups DJ Reed balling over there with the Jets, man. Trey Flowers ended up playing in a Super Bowl.
Yep.
Carlos Dunlap is still out there floating. Yeah, it's a team looks a bit different than back in 2020 for sure.
And shout out to Carlos because he finally got his ring. Went out to KC and got that.
Oh,
thing.
yeah,
So
you're right.
Shout out to my guy.
You're right.
Carlos Dunlap was a great dude. Anyway, let's get back into what's going on in the division. What's the word?
Where my soldiers at? West side! Where my soldiers at? West side! And the Seahawks are the NFC West champs again.
What's the word in the West on Hawk Talk?
Seahawks back in first place in the NFC West. Let's
Get it.
They are 4-3. The Niners 3-4, having a bunch of injury issues over there. The Cardinals are 2-4, and the Rams are looking like they trying to rebuild over there, and they are 2-4. Let's focus on the game of the week. I was looking at this game, and I thought the Niners were going to get this one.
You did say that. I remember that.
And you, the positive guy that you are, said, "Nah, Chiefs got this," and that's what happened. It was a good game, man. If you just looked at the stat line for Mahomes, man, you might think the 49ers came out on top. Mahomes had an all right day. He's been having an all right year, honestly. He's been wild. He's been mediocre, man. He was 16 of 27 for 154 yards, no touchdown, and 2 interceptions. The Niners were dominant running that thing, 184 yards on the ground. The biggest storyline was Brock Purdy's afternoon. He was 17 of 31, 212 yards, no touchdown, and 3 interceptions. The most costly interception came midway through the fourth quarter with the 49ers trailing 21-12 after a long drive. The Niners faced 3rd and goal from the Kansas City 5-yard line. Purdy tried to force it to Chris Conley, and it was picked off. Tough day for Purdy, man. He's going to have to start elevating guys, man.
Yeah.
He's got to be that dude.
I don't want to judge him off of a couple of games because we watched him here in Seattle, and he was pretty dang good.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, it's different, Bump. When you're going to have to be the dude. Granted, you have so many all-pros all around, but a lot is going to fall on his plate.
Yeah, he's got to step it up, man. He did have 2 rushing touchdowns, though, so it wasn't all bad. The Chiefs took advantage with a game-sealing drive, going 12 plays, 80 yards, ending with a McCole Hardman 18-yard touchdown. That made the score 28-12. The Niners would score a touchdown late, but it was too late for that squad. The Chiefs won 28-18. Mason had 58 yards on 14 carries. Adding insult to injury, Deebo Samuel only played 4 snaps as he's dealing with a form of pneumonia. Man, that's when it rains, it pours over there for the Niners. But these guys are going to get healthy. Worst news, Ayuk is done for the year. This is why you hold out and get paid. I know I made fun of Ayuk and said, go to practice, man. But this is why you hold out, because things happen, and you want to make sure you're paid. So Ayuk got his money, and they got a few games out of him, and now he's out for the season. They're banged up. We'll see who's available when they play the Seahawks later on this season.
Yeah, it's going to be it's hard. I don't want to get ahead. Obviously, we're talking about the Bills right now.
Right.
But me and you can get ahead. I'm not in the locker
we can
room.
do that.
This is a time to get San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
This is absolutely the time. I don't know another time where they're going to be down, and we'll talk about this a lot in the coming weeks. The Seahawks, for the first time in God knows how long, have a bye heading into that game, and the Niners were playing the week before. So for the first time, the Seahawks really have an advantage. So we'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks, but that could be a huge game, and the Seahawks come off a bye. Niners hosting the Cowboys. I'm really intrigued about that. Because
if they
the loser
lose
of
to the
that game,
Cowboys,
holy smokes.
My goodness, the sky's already fallen in Dallas. It's already fallen.
I mean, they might revive their season. I mean, it's a big game because either way, I would love to listen to talk radio in either city. And I might just do it because that's the kind of person I am. Anyway, other games in the NFC West, Raiders were at the Rams. Rams got back on track after 2 consecutive losses, beating the Raiders 20-15. Wasn't a great football game. Rams forced 4 turnovers, including a scoop and score touchdown, which was the deciding factor in the game. Bad luck for the Raiders. They lost starting quarterback Aiden O'Connell on the second series of the game. Your guy, Gardner Minshew, was forced back into duty. Things did not go very well. 15 of 34, 154, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Also was the one.
He wasn't ready. He wasn't ready.
Responsible for 4 turnovers. So, yeah, go Cougs. Tough for your guy, Gardner. On the flip side, Matthew Stafford also wasn't that great. 14 of 23, 154, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. That was Stafford's lowest passer rating in 4 years he's been with the Rams. But they did run the ball effectively, 76 yards on 21 carries, 2 touchdowns for Kyron Williams. Raiders did make it close late, pulling within 5 points, but they would get the ball back down 5, 140 left. Unfortunately for them, 3 plays later, Gardner Minshew turned the ball over again, and that was all she wrote. Man. Anyway, the Rams trying to stay relevant again. We know that game in 2 weeks is going to be tough, so it'll be interesting, but the Rams get it done.
Yeah. Good for them. Let's move on. Going to the Cardinals. I still don't know what this team is, man, but they found a way to get a win. You see the numbers of that dual-cast Monday Night Football? Only like 1.5 million people watched the Chargers game. ESPN ain't going to let y'all know that, though. That's why you shouldn't do it. If you're going to have 2 games, play one early, play one late, man. Come on. I want to watch both of them,
exactly.
Man. Come on.
Thank you.
Kyler Murray made the play of the game, the 44-yard touchdown run down the sideline. That gave him the lead in the fourth quarter. And he was clowning, too. He gave a burst for about 15, 20 yards and then eased off the gas. That's how
Second time he's done that this year.
It's disrespectful is what it is. The Chargers would add 2 field goals and take the lead, 15-14 with 1:45 remaining in the game. Then Murray would lead the Cardinals on a 7-play, 56-yard drive, setting up the game-winning field goal to Chad Ryland. That was set up by a 33-yard pass and run by James Conner. He finished the day with 19 carries, 101 yards, 2 receptions for 51 yards. Kyler Murray was 14 of 26, 145, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He also added 64 yards on 6 carries and a touchdown. It was a frustrating night for the Chargers offense, man. They gained 395 yards but couldn't find the end zone. Justin Herbert completed 27 of 39 of his passes for 349. His coach Jim Harbaugh's first loss on Monday night, dropping him to 6-1. Dang, I didn't realize he was that dominant on Monday night. Dicker booted field goals, 59, 50, 28, 47, 40. Too many. Got to score touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't want your kicker,
No.
lining up and kicking that many times. So, Los Angeles has gone 16 consecutive offensive drives without a touchdown. That is tough. The Cardinals continue to be one of the most confusing teams in all the land, and the Chargers are still trying to figure out how to win ball games.
Yeah, man. Again, week by week, we don't know what Cardinals team's going to do. They're going to blow you out. They can get blown out. They can go up and down. It's hard to tell. The one thing we do know, Kyler Murray is a hell of an athlete. He's going to make plays, so we'll see there. But let's get back into these Buffalo Bills. Man up.
Hey, who mans is this? Who mans is this? Man up now, man up, man up, brother. Man up, brother.
Man up on Hawk Talk.
The guy that's going to get a lot of attention throughout the week as we lead into this game is the quarterback, Josh Allen, taking on the Seahawks defense. And for me, Bump, make no mistake about it, Josh Allen is one of the most elite quarterbacks in the National Football League. He's now in his 7th season. Josh Allen's 2-time Pro Bowler, finished in top 5 in MVP voting 2 of the last 3 seasons. Josh Allen's really helped the Bills become relevant again because they were a doormat for a long time, and he's led the Bills to the playoffs in 5 of 6 seasons. Prior to that, the Bills have been in the playoffs just one time in 18 years.
Goodness gracious.
But there's always been one knock on Josh Allen.
Turnovers. Yep.
Turns them over like crazy. Josh Allen has 78 career interceptions. He threw a career-high 18 of them things last year.
Man.
18, 1-8. But this year, he's figured it out. He's talked to the turnover Jesus, whatever we praise to. And he's thrown 0 interceptions in 7 games. Now, Bump, I would take credit for this stat like it was all me.
Okay.
It was not me. Shout out John Boyle / I think the Bills senior writer over there. But since 2020, the Bills are now 20-1 and averaging 34 points per game when Josh Allen has 0 giveaways. So that's interceptions and fumbles. Their only loss was earlier this year against Houston.
It's impressive.
So I think we should try to take the ball away.
Yeah.
You good on that?
That's a good formula. Always take the ball away. You know what? It was a while before last week before we saw some legit takeaways by this defense. So get her done against Josh Allen in the game.
Well, and the other thing about Josh, too, he's second player in NFL history to record at least 12 touchdown passes and no interceptions in the first 7 games, running Alex Smith. 286 consecutive attempts without an interception dating back to last season's longest of his career, longest in Bills history. He's got 1,400 yards on the season, 12 touchdowns, no picks. He's only been sacked 9 times, Bump.
Man.
9. It's tough.
Well, last week it was the same story, right?
Yeah, and we got after
Atlanta
Kirk.
did a good
Yes,
job protecting
sir.
Kirk. So, those numbers mean nothing to me. Yet they do, though. Remember last year, Jared Goff came in throwing how many passes without a pick?
Trey Brown,
Trey
baby.
Brown, pick 6. So let's get that going. All right, let's talk about our guy, Geno Smith, man. He was on point last week. You can look at his numbers and not be impressed, but if you watch the game, you understand what I'm talking about. He was 18 of 28, 207 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interception. QB rating of 110. It was the highest of the season. First time Geno Smith was under 30 attempts since week 1 against Denver. You love that. 50 is too much. 40 is too much.
Way too much.
You got to run that football. According to NFL Next Gen Stats, Smith was pressured on 50% of his dropbacks against Atlanta, the highest pressure rate he has faced in a game. It didn't feel like that because it didn't phase him, but it didn't feel like that.
Because of how good Geno is.
Exactly. Moving in that pocket, doing his thing. When facing pressure, Smith completed 7 of 13 attempts for 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. Good for a 125.8 rating. Geno, keep doing your thing. I like what you're doing. Let's protect him a little bit more. Through 7 weeks, he is first in passing yards, 6th in completion percentage, 1st in completions, 1st in attempts, and 10th when it comes to QBR. Geno has the Seahawks as the number 1 passing attack in the NFL, averaging 270 yards per game. Come on now, Grubb and Geno. When I think of Geno, I think of Grubb too, man. I know Geno's on the field making things happen, but you got to give Grubb some love too.
No question about it. Taking on this Bills defense, 28th in total defense, 17th against the pass, 8th in points per game. So, interesting to see. Von Miller's also not going to play, dealing with his last of his 4-game suspension. So, we'll see what Geno can cook up against these guys. Speaking of cook, we'll go over to the running backs for the Buffalo Bills. James Cook, Ray Davis. I know that wasn't too bad.
Nice transition.
Came to me on the spot.
I like that.
That was a good one, right? Bills rushing attack is led by third-year player James Cook, as I mentioned. Cook is a former teammate of Kenny McIntosh down at Georgia, member of that 2021 national championship team. And in college, Cook didn't put up amazing numbers, but it's because they had 3 NFL players in their backfield. Zamir White, Kenny McIntosh himself. That didn't stop him from getting drafted in the second round of the Bills. During his rookie season, he played in every game and rushed for 507 yards, 2 touchdowns, but split time with running back Devin Singletary. Singletary got out of there, and that's when he really established himself, going for over 1,000 yards last year, 2 touchdowns, 44 receptions, 445 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Those numbers earned him a Pro Bowl nod. So far this season, a little off that pace. He's got 82 carries, 341 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Also has 11 receptions, 123 yards, and 1 touchdown. His other running back mate out of Kentucky, Ray Davis, he spent time in Temple, Vandy, and Kentucky in college. Ran for 1,000 yards his last 2 seasons down there. So far, he's got 51 carries, 213 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The Bills do not have a dominant run game bump. They're 19th in the NFL, averaging 116 yards per game. So I want this to be the game where the Seahawks shut it down.
Lock it down.
Straight up, start to finish. Seahawks built off a good second half last week, so we'll see what they can do moving forward.
Guys are getting healthy. I'm saying that box is looking good right now. All right, let's look at the pass catchers, man. You got Keon Coleman. Great athlete. You seen him dunk a basketball? Oh, man, 360 through the legs. Great athlete. Khalil Shakir. You got the tight end, Dalton Kincaid, and then Amari Cooper, the new addition. They got a big lift with Amari Cooper. Cooper has he's had a really good career, and it didn't look too good over there in Cleveland. And there's a lot of reasons why, all right? And we're not going to get into it. Y'all use your imagination. Google Cleveland Browns and
do some reading.
Yeah, I'm sure some things will let you know. He's now in his 10th season, man, and he's with his 4th team. He's gone over 1,000 yards, 7 of his last 9 full seasons in the NFL. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler, including last season. So when I see a guy have a horrible season and the year before he was balling, I don't just assume that he's done. I assume some things were happening over there. In 2023, he had 72 receptions, 1,200 yards, and 5 touchdowns. In 7 games with the Browns, 28 receptions for 316 yards and 3 touchdowns. His catch percentage is 45% over there in Cleveland.
That's the one that jumps out because the 300 yards and a couple touchdowns, you're like, that's okay, but the catch percentage is brutal.
Crazy, 45 yards. So in one game, he had 4 receptions for 66 yards on 18 snaps. He had a touchdown. And then the leading receiver is the young man, Keon Coleman, out of Florida State. He's known for his personality. He's already making money. I forgot. I saw
the commercials.
Book It or something like bookings.com or something like that.
Like Niagara Falls or something out there.
Like, get your money, young fella. Get your money. He's coming off the best game of his career so far against the Titans. He has 7 receptions for 125 so far this year, 16 receptions for 326 and 2 touchdowns. Khalil Shakir, He's another impact player for the Bills, a third-year player out of Boise State. Has a team leading 27 receptions, 314 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Did you know you have to say Boise, or they would get mad at you? It's not Boise. It's Boise.
Boise?
Boise.
I've never said that in my life.
I was down in Boise, and I
Oh,
said
it's
it
not
like
Boise?
that, and it was
Dang.
like, it's Boise. I'm like, all right, my bad.
Is that what Chris Peter? I don't feel like he'd be saying it.
I don't know, man.
Okay.
But he's the godfather, though. They let him do whatever he
Put
wants
me on
to do.
game next
All right.
time I'm down in Boise State.
There you go. You might get a free drink. You know,
Maybe,
you said it
maybe.
right. Lastly, he's not a receiver, but you got Dalton Kincaid, man. He's a good tight end out of Utah. Played in the Rose Bowl in 2022. Last year, he was the team's third leading receiver, 673 yards with 73 receptions and 2 touchdowns. So far this year, 24 receptions, 269, and 1 touchdown. The Hawks are 13th in the NFL against the pass, allowing 197 per game. Hey, lock up the run, lock up the pass, make Josh Allen have to do everything. I like that formula.
Yeah, keep everything in front. Amari Cooper, obviously, I think is rejuvenated.
Yeah.
He's in a place. You go from where he was at to playing with Josh Allen and the Bills competing for a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty good start. So I expect him to be a lot more involved in the offense. It's going to be a tough task, but I think the Seahawks are game for it. I'm hoping, depending on what the injury situation is with Reek Woolen and Trey Brown. We saw some good things from Nehemiah Pritchett. We saw Josh Joe make some plays. So I think the Seahawks will be in good hands in the secondary, but it'll be a fun matchup. Now let's look at our receivers, the DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba taking on this Bills secondary. DK Metcalf, he had a huge bounce-back game against the Falcons with 4 receptions, 99 yards, 1
I wanted that
touchdowns.
100 yards for him so bad.
Oh, I know.
I wanted it
man.
so bad for him, man.
2 huge receptions. One saved his boy JSN from he snatched the interception from them, dude. Like I mean, we talked about it in the recap.
Yeah.
Receivers are going to throw that thing.
You call a double pass. That receiver's letting it go.
And like distance-wise, it was great. Thank God DK Metcalf is out of this world athlete and he
Yeah.
bailed his butt out. Made a nice play there. And then right before halftime, the Seahawks, I know, almost slipped right there. That was tough. Right before halftime, he had a huge catch in the end zone from Geno Smith. DK in the NFL, he ranks 3rd in the entire NFL, 568 receiving yards, 16.2 yards per reception, is 4th in the NFL. Fortunately for the Hawks, DK Metcalf's status for this week is uncertain with that knee injury. He's got a minor MCL, said the coach. Timeline is not sure. Not long-term, which is good. So
Yep.
prayers up to DK. Hopefully he can get back out there this week. But if he cannot, where's the slack going to go? Jackson Smith and Jigba. Definitely someone for me to watch this weekend if DK can't play. After he had that really breakout game in week 2 against the Patriots, kind of flashed what he can do and why he was drafted here that day. He had 12 receptions, 117 yards. It seemed like Ryan Grubb made a really concerted effort early on in that game to get him the football.
Yep.
Since then, he's been pretty quiet. He hasn't had a game with more than 53 receiving yards. Not that he's played bad by any stretch. It's just how the cookie crumbles as a receiver. So something to keep an eye out for this Sunday, especially if DK can't play. And then you got, obviously, the OG Tyler Lockett. On the year, Lockett's got 30 receptions, 384, 1 touchdown. Jackson has 37 receptions, 319, and a touchdown. The Bills, again, we talked about earlier, average in most stats defensively, 17th in the NFL when it comes to the pass, giving up 209 yards per game. The one nice thing, though, it's cool to give a little shout-out to DeMar Hamlin. He's leading the Bills with 2 interceptions, and between him and Jamarcus Ingram, they have 9 passes defended combined. But really cool to see him out there, and we're talking about his play and not what happened last year, so obviously big ups to DeMar.
He's a starter now, man.
Yeah.
Last year when that whole thing went down, he was a special teams guy. So big ups to DeMar for doing his thing, man. Happy to see him make plays. All right, let's talk about these RBs. RBs against the Bills front 7. The Seahawks running game took some strides last week. They ran for 103 yards on 26 carries. I believe Ken Walker, he's probably more involved in a game if he's not sick.
Yeah.
And even though he was sick, he still has some exciting plays. If he's not going to get a lot of yards, just give me the touchdowns. And
Yes, sir.
that's what
Yes,
he did
sir.
last week. Despite being sick, Walker had 69 rushing yards on 14 attempts, including a 20-yard touchdown to the right side behind 2 rookies, Chris Haynes and Michael Jarrell. Also had another touchdown negated by a hold. The Seahawks are still looking for their first 100-yard rusher since Ken Walker in week 1 against the Broncos. It's going to change this week. On the year, K9, 65 carries, 303 yards, 6 touchdowns, 23 receptions, 460 yards, and 1 touchdown. And he's done that while missing 2 games. Zach Charbonnet has 57 carries for 206 yards and 3 touchdowns. This will be another great opportunity to get the run game going against the average Bills defense. That's weird to say. The average Bills defense. For years, they've been one of the best defenses in the game.
Yeah, and obviously the Seahawks still got to come out there and execute.
Yep.
They're not going to come up to Seattle and lay down, but they're 20th against the run, so we'll see what happens. But as we put a bow on this thing, let's tell you how the Seahawks are going to get a victory, path to victory.
At the 45, waits for the snap. Michael Dixon puts it down. That kick is away, and that kick is good! The Seahawks win! It's good!
It's a path to victory on Hawk Talk.
Bump, another huge opportunity for the Seahawks to take advantage atop the AFC West and extend that lead. Who knows what's going to happen with the 49ers this week in Dallas. But the Seahawks got to regain home field advantage. They started off the season good, have dropped the last 2 at home, and we need to get that fixed. And then another one for me up top is starting fast. It is so much easier to play when you have the lead. Obviously, I'm not breaking, I'm not going out on a limb in any hot takes here, but it's just so much easier to play that way. So if the Seahawks can start fast, you can definitely see opening everything up, offensive, defense. So looking forward to that.
Man, I looked in the media guide that you give us, and I believe since 2010, my numbers might not be completely accurate, but I'm close. They're 90 and 19 when they win the turnover battle. Since 2010. All right, so let's take care of the football. You need another day of turnover-free football, and you snatch it from the Bills, man. The Bills had the league's best turnover differential for a reason. Turnovers have been huge for them. I believe they have 7 interceptions and 5 fumbles recovered. They lost 2 fumbles, no interceptions. So that's where you get that number. They're plus 10, and you need to unlock the run game. It started last week. Let's see it come home here to Seattle.
Yep, absolutely. Definitely need that run game going. And defensively, like we talked about, turnovers are going to be a big aspect of this game. It's going to be a tall task, right? Josh hasn't done it. When you look through some of the numbers and some of the film, he has had some throws that could have been intercepted.
Yeah.
Just
he
like
said
any
that.
quarterback.
I think he said that.
Yeah. I think there's definitely a couple different ones where you got lucked out there. So let's be that person that takes the football away. When you're in the right spot, good things happen. So hopefully this week the Seahawks will get that done. And Bump, though, it's America's Game of the Week, dog.
Oh, I didn't know that.
America's Game of the Week.
Let's
Tom
go.
Brady,
Okay.
Burkhardt, Aaron
Thomas.
Andrews, Ronaldo.
I'm pulling up on Tom. I'm going in the booth. Like,
Are you?
What up, Tom?
I don't know.
He
Security
probably has
tight up
security.
in there.
Yeah, it's going to be super tight.
No, I almost rubbed elbows with Tom in Germany.
Oh, yeah?
We did our post-game show kind of like outside in the locker room area.
Yeah.
Well, Tampa was right on the other side of that, and then there was just a lot of money in the middle. I couldn't get close enough. I was just kind of walking by doing my job, and a bunch of big famous soccer dudes were talking to him. So I was like, okay.
That's what's up.
But I looked over, I was like, wow, that's so much more money than I'll ever see in life. Anyway, but maybe you'll pull up. We'll see.
Hey, if the door's open and there's no security, I'm walking through the door.
Oh, goodness. I hope no one's listening to this for that. No, but for real, though, Game of the Week, the reason I bring that up is because there are going to be a lot of eyeballs on the set. The Seahawks have a really good opportunity to show what Mike McDonald and company have been building here, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, man, let's get it. Come on.
Need it. Come on, Hawks. The Seahawks pregame show will begin at 10 a.m. on Sunday. Seahawks taking on those Bills. Kickoff at 1:05. Reminder, you can catch us everywhere new on YouTube, Seahawks Press Pass channel, Apple Podcast, Spotify, SiriusXM, and more. Bump, this has been fun. Hopefully we'll be talking about a Seahawks win over these Bills. Come next week. He's Michael Bumpus. I'm Nasser. This has been Hawk Talk.